Hi, welcome back to another video. So in this video we are going to attempt a practice problem. With the help of this problem you will learn about array of structures as well. Okay, so let's read out the statement. There is a structure called employee that holds information like employee code, name, date of joining. Write a program to create an array of the structure and enter some data into it. Then ask the user to enter current date, display the names of those employees whose tenure is 3 or more than 3 years according to the given current date. So what we discussed in our previous video or the first video of lesson 6, we learned about structures, unions, enumeration and type def. We learned about these user defined data types. Now with the help of this example, we will learn a bit more about this structure as well. So let's go and attempt this practice problem. So first of all, as you guys know that you have to do what? You have to write the struct keyword, okay? So let's use struct keyword to start with a structure. Now after that you have to give it a name of your choice. So I'll say employee details. Okay, so just keep it that way. Now what do we have to store? Okay, so let's see. Code. So what can be the code? The code can have some string. Okay, so code can be a string. So let's say string and code. We have a code here. Now let's say name. So name can also be a string, name can be a character as well. So why I am using string code and string name? Just because if someone has a lengthy name or a lengthy code, so my data has been adjusted. So I'll use string code and I will use a character name. So you will get the syntax of both. So in any situations, if you want to use string, you can use string. If any situation you want to use name, so you can use name. So we will say name has a size of 25. Now let's see date of joining. So we will say that integer date of joining. So date of joining. Okay. Now what do we mean by date of joining? So date of joining can be 8th December. We can say 10th of January. So we just don't need only the date, but we also need the month. So day and integer month as well. Okay. Now let's see what else do we want to get from the user. And also the year. So year as well. Okay, so this is what do we have. So up until now, what we learned about structures, that we can declare any name to the structure, the user defined data type. So you will write like employee details, and let's say we have a name of E1. So this is employee 1, and we will say E2. This will store the information for employee 2, and let's say E3. This will store the information for employee 3. Now what will happen, that I will have to write E1, sorry, not C1, but E1 dot string. Then I will have to write E1 dot day and so on. So it will be like 5 lines of code for taking inputs for employee 1, 5 lines of code for taking input for employee 2, 5 lines of code for taking input of employee 3, and then printing out all those results. So that will be extra 15 lines of code as well. So this will be like a 30 line of code. So what if you have 100 employee company? So what will you do? E1, E2 and up so E100? No. There must be some efficient way, and that way is a array. Just like we have arrays for integer, for float, for characters, we have array for structures as well. Now let's have a look what can be the syntax for those arrays. So as you guys already know that we have a syntax like integer array and we put size of that array. So this is the general syntax for simple array. So we will follow the same syntax here as well. So employee details, we will say E, generalized E, and we will give it a name. So what do we have to write? So 3, no. How many of employees are there? Okay, so we will just write 3 employee names. For testing purpose, you can have a lot of employee names as well. So this is just for testing purpose. So just like we used to do it for the simple arrays, applying a for loop and integer I starting from the I is equals to 0. So the index, all that theory is same here as well. And I is less than what? 3. Okay. And then I plus plus. All right, so let me explain this for loop for you guys. So this is the same as we are used to for loop starting from 0 till this less than the size of the array. So this is the same story as we are used to. Then after here, here what we are doing is that we are printing the text to let the user know that what they want to enter. So we have already studied that we use cin.get to read the spaces within the strings as well. So we are using cin.get for our character array, this one, and we are using get line for our string. Okay, and after that all the story is the same, just the difference is that we are using the array syntax. So you guys already know about arrays. The only difference is this dot operator, and we have discussed in detail that why we use this dot operator. So this dot operator is used to access the member variables of this structure. Okay, now so we have designed this for loop for taking input and storing our input in the structure. So what else do we want? That display the names of those employees whose tenure is 3 or more than 3 years according to the given current date. Okay, so we will enter the current date. So for current, what we can do that we can define it within our main function. So what I just did here is that I have declared some variables and initialized them with the current, because the current will be fixed. Okay, so it can be readjusted according to our needs as well. Now what we are going to do, let's demonstrate the logic behind our code as well. So what we need in our code. Now our next step is to check whether the current employee has 3 years or more than 3 years of service. So let's have a look at the logic. Now first of all, what do we need? We need for loop, because we have to iterate over all the employees. So we will say I is equals to 0, I is less than 3, and I plus plus. And we will just remove this bracket from here and write. Okay. So within this for loop, what do we have to do? That we have to check whether the employee has a service of equals to 3 years or more than 3 years. If it satisfies this condition, we will print the name of the employee, and also we will print the code. So the main logic is within checking the 3 years. So it's not that simple that you will subtract 2 years from one another, and if it is equals to 3 and if it is greater than 3, you will just print. There is some kind of exceptions in it, or you can say that there might be some possibility if someone is equals to 3 years but still he hasn't got 3 years of service. How? Let's say, just for demonstration, if someone current service date is 2023, okay, the current date is 2023 and his service started in 2020, okay. So if its service started in 2020, let's say 2020. Now let me just make it bright a bit. Okay. So if the current day year is 2023 and the employee service started in 2020, now if I minus 2023 and say minus 2020, so if I minus 2020 from 2023, what it will generate is 3. All right, it is 3. Okay, so let's have a look whether it is 3 or not. So let's say in 2021, the employee completed 1 year of service. Then in 2022, completed 2 years of service. Then in 2023, as it by a simple mathematical calculation, it was 3. But actually, is it 3 or not? It depends upon the day and the month as well. So for example, if the employee started its career in 2020 and the day was 1st January and the month is also 1st, so the employee has completed 3 years. But what if the employee started the service in 2020 but in the last month, for example, first day of last month, let's say 12, and the current day is 8 of 12th of 8th month. So the employee hasn't completed 3 years because still there are 4 months left to achieve the 3 years completion service. Okay, so this is the logic that we are going to apply in our if else statement. So let's have a look. We will say if the current year minus the ei dot year is equals to 3. If it is equals to 3, so then check other conditions as well. Then the other conditions must be satisfied as well. So the first condition is and within and we will say the current month minus employee I dot month, okay, dot month must be greater than or equals to 0. This is one condition. And the current day minus employee dot day must be what? Must be greater than or equals to 0. Okay, so if it is less than 0, this means that the employee hasn't completed its 3-year service. So we will just move this line of code here for better readability. Okay, so let's move here as well. All right, so we have the if condition. So if current year minus employee year is equals to 3, so if it falls into the category of this, then what you have to do, you also have to make sure that current month minus the employee month is greater than or equals to 0. So greater than or equals to means that he has completed the year with respect to the month. Now also make sure that current day minus employee day is also greater than or equals to 0. So this means that greater than or equals to 0 means that the employee has completed 3 years with respect to days, with respect to month, with respect to year as well. Else, if current year current year minus employee I dot year is greater than 3, then we have no problem. So we will just print its data. Okay, so within this if we will print, okay, instead of print we will say cout 3 years service completed. Okay, and we will print out our text as cout name is equals to ei dot name and also handle. Okay, then cout code is equals to ei dot code handle. Okay, so this is a good approach of printing them. So if it is satisfied within this condition as well, then we will say copy and we will paste it here as well. So what do we mean by these lines of code? All right, so in else we do not want to print anything, so we are good to go. Now we will store our data and we will see that what happens. Okay, so I will increase the array size by 1. So we will have 4 employee data just to check all the possibilities that our if else is working properly or not. So what I am going to do is that we will put some different kind of days and date. Okay, so I'll just write some of them here. All right, so before I run and build this program, I'm using one function here, that is cin.ignore. So what is the purpose of cin.ignore? Whenever you are using cin.get or getLine functions to take input and store it within the string, so there might be some possibility that due to some these integer data types or any other data types, there is some other character left in memory buffer. So what happens when these character arrays receives anything like character or any input, so it will move out to the next line. So what will happen that it will not get any input from you and you will face some kind of logical errors in it. So for that purpose I am using cin.ignore, so I do not face any kind of logical errors or any kind of errors in my program. So I'll just comment them just to show you what will happen if I don't use them. So let's say enter your name. So I'll say employee 1. And as you guys can see, it neglected the input for the your code because it receives some kind of empty character in it, it stored in it, and it moved on to the next one, okay? Or maybe the null character in it. So that's the purpose. I'm using cin.ignore. So you will see that when I use the cin.ignore, one I am using after this and another will be used somewhere here. Okay, so let's see. So enter your name, employee 1, 1 1 2 2 A, 22 1 22. Then employee name. So it is working. Okay, everything is working. Now let's properly take input from the user. Our program is working fine, and I already told you that what is the purpose of the cin.ignore. So if you are not using getLine and cin.get, you will not face any issues if you are using some simple cin. Okay, so let's see. Now first of all, we have employee 1. Okay, so employee 1, and the code for employee 1 will be 1 1 2 2 A. And the day will I enter is 2. The month I will enter 2. And the year I will enter is 2020. Now this was the data for employee 1. Now let's enter the data for employee 2 as well. After that, the code, so 1133B, and we will enter this date as a 1 first month and 2019. Okay. Then after that, another name, so it will be employee 3, and we will have a 1144C, and we will enter the day as a 9 and the month is 11 and year is 2020. Enter your name is a employee 4, code 1144D. The day will be like 1st of January and the month will be January and the year will be 2021. Now why I am using all these different kind of date and days? So what will happen in case of first employee? First employee has started his service in 2020 and in first day on the second day of second month, so this employee has completed its 3 years of service. Okay. Now the second employee, sorry, has started the service in 2019. So 2019 minus 2023, so it's already greater than 3. So this will be directly printed because this guy has already completed its 3 years of service. What about this employee? This employee has started the journey on the 9th day of 11th month of 2020. Now here is the thing. This is also 2020 employee 3 and the employee 1 is also 2020. But there is a difference. This guy has completed its 3-year service but this guy has not. Why? Because the actual difference between their current and the joining date is not 3 years. This guy is below 3 years because the current month is 8 and he joined in 9th month of 2020. So actually this guy has not completed its 3 years of service. Now this guy has started in 2021 employee 4. So no confusion in employee 3 because this guy has not completed its 3 years of service. Okay, so let's see what will happen. Okay, 3 years of service completed for whom? Let's see for whom we have. One is employee 1, the code is 22A, and another is employee 2. So as you guys can see, we are getting 3 years of service for employee 1. And he has also joined in 2020, but we are not getting output for this guy who also joined in 2020. The reason for it is that we are making sure that the person has completed 3 years of services with respect to the months and days as well. Okay. So this was the logic and this was the practice problem. I hope you guys have learned a lot from this practice problem. So let me know down in the comments if you guys have any kind of doubts in it. So I'll meet you guys in the next video in this C++ learning series. Until then, bye.